Bitcoin has been forked hundreds of times. Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV, Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin Diamond. Most of them are worthless. A few tried to replace Bitcoin. All of them failed. But forks reveal something important about how Bitcoin actually works. They show what happens when groups disagree about Bitcoin's future. They prove Bitcoin can't be controlled by any single entity. And they created opportunities and disasters for people who didn't understand what was happening. This video explains what forks actually are, why they happen, which ones mattered, and what to do if you own Bitcoin when one happens. A fork is when Bitcoin's blockchain splits into two separate chains. Imagine a road that splits into two paths. Cars traveling that road now have to choose which path to follow. Same thing with Bitcoin. A fork happens when some nodes and miners follow new rules while others follow the old rules. Now there are two versions of Bitcoin running simultaneously. Everyone who owned Bitcoin before the fork now owns coins on both chains, the original Bitcoin and the forked version. Forks happen because of disagreements. Bitcoin has no CEO, no board of directors, no central authority to make decisions. When the community disagrees about how Bitcoin should evolve, they can't vote in a traditional sense. Instead, they fork. One group says, Bitcoin should work this way. Another group says, no, Bitcoin should work that way. Neither can force the other to comply. So the blockchain splits. Each group gets the version of Bitcoin they want. The market decides which one survives. Soft forks are backward compatible. New rules are added, but old nodes can still operate. It's like updating your phone's operating system. Most apps still work. Soft forks tighten rules. They don't require everyone to upgrade immediately. SegWit in 2017 was a soft fork. It changed how transactions were structured, but old nodes didn't break. Hard forks are not backward compatible. New rules break compatibility with the old chain. Everyone must choose, upgrade, or stay on the old chain. If some upgrade and some don't, the chain splits permanently. Bitcoin Cash in 2017 was a hard fork. Two separate coins emerged. The most famous Bitcoin fork came from a fight over block size. Bitcoin blocks are capped at 1 megabyte. This limits how many transactions fit in each block. When Bitcoin got popular, blocks filled up. Fees spiked. Transactions took hours. One group said, increase the block size to 2 megabytes, 8 megabytes, or more. This would allow more transactions per block. Fees would drop. The other group said, no, keep blocks small to maintain decentralization. Larger blocks require more bandwidth and storage. That makes running a node harder. Fewer nodes means more centralization. In August 2017, Bitcoin Cash forked off. It increased the block size to 8 megabytes. The idea, Bitcoin should be peer-to-peer cash, not digital gold. Bigger blocks mean cheaper transactions. Lower fees mean people actually use it for payments. Bitcoin maximalists disagreed. They wanted Bitcoin to remain decentralized, even if that meant slower, more expensive transactions. Layer 2 solutions like Lightning Network could handle payments. The base layer should stay secure. The community split. Bitcoin Cash went one direction. Bitcoin stayed the course. Bitcoin Cash launched at around $300. It pumped to $4,000 in December 2017 during the crypto bubble. Then it crashed. Today it trades around $300 to $500. Meanwhile, Bitcoin went from $2,700 at the time of the fork to $90,000 plus today. The market chose. Bitcoin Cash didn't kill Bitcoin. It didn't replace it. It became an altcoin. A lesson in why forking Bitcoin doesn't automatically create value. The network effect, security, and community matter more than technical specifications. In 2018, Bitcoin Cash itself forked. One group wanted even bigger blocks. They created Bitcoin SV, Satoshi's vision. It increased blocks to 128 megabytes. The leader was Craig Wright, who claims he's Satoshi Nakamoto. Nobody believes him. Bitcoin SV pumped briefly. Then it collapsed. It's worth almost nothing today. Most exchanges delisted it. This fork proved that forking can happen infinitely, but value doesn't follow. You can't fork your way to success if nobody uses the new chain. Bitcoin Gold forked in 2017 to resist ASIC mining. Bitcoin mining had become dominated by specialized ASIC hardware. Regular people with GPUs couldn't compete. Bitcoin Gold changed the mining algorithms so ASICs wouldn't work. Anyone with a gaming PC could mine again. The intention: democratize mining. The result: the coin got 51% attacked multiple times. Attackers gained majority control and double-spent coins. Exchanges lost millions. Bitcoin Gold still exists, but it's irrelevant. The fork proved that security comes from hash rate, not good intentions. Bitcoin Diamond, Bitcoin Private, Bitcoin Interest, Bitcoin God, Super Bitcoin. Dozens of forks launched during the 2017 bubble. Most promised faster transactions, lower fees, or better privacy. All of them failed. They had no users, no developers, no liquidity. Exchanges didn't list them or delisted them quickly. Forking Bitcoin is technically easy. Getting anyone to care is nearly impossible. The overwhelming majority of Bitcoin forks are worthless. If you own one Bitcoin before a fork, you now own one Bitcoin and one of the forked coin. Your original Bitcoin is unaffected. You also receive an equal amount of the new coin. Example: you had one BTC before Bitcoin Cash forked. After the fork, you still have one BTC. You also now have one BCH. Same private keys control both. You didn't lose anything. You gained a new asset. Whether that asset is worth anything depends on the market. If you held Bitcoin in self-custody during a fork, your private keys control both chains. Import your seed phrase into a wallet that supports the forked coin. Your forked coins appear. Sell them or hold them. Your choice. If you held Bitcoin on an exchange during a fork, the exchange decides whether to credit you. Coinbase credited Bitcoin Cash. Some exchanges didn't. You have no control. This is another reason to use self-custody. You automatically get forked coins. Exchanges can deny you. Claiming forked coins can expose your private keys to malicious software. Some fork wallets are scams designed to steal your Bitcoin. The process: you download a Bitcoin Diamond wallet. You import your seed phrase. The wallet steals your private keys and drains your real Bitcoin. If you're claiming a fork, use a separate wallet with coins moved to a new address first. Never import your main Bitcoin wallet seed into unknown software. The forked coins might not be worth the risk. Bitcoin's value comes from network effects: miners, nodes, users, developers, liquidity. Forks start with zero network effects. A fork might have identical code to Bitcoin, but it doesn't have the community, it doesn't have the security, it doesn't have the brand recognition. Exchanges don't list it. Wallets don't support it. Merchants don't accept it. Without network effects, the coin dies. This is why hundreds of Bitcoin forks are worthless. Only one fork had lasting impact: Bitcoin Cash. Not because it succeeded, but because it resolved the block size debate. The big blockers left. Bitcoin could focus on Layer 2 solutions. The community became more aligned. Bitcoin Cash is still around, but it's irrelevant to Bitcoin's future. Every other fork, Bitcoin SV, Bitcoin Gold, all the scam forks, they're historical footnotes. They proved you can't fork Bitcoin's value. You can only fork the code. Forks prove Bitcoin is decentralized. No one can force changes. If you disagree, you fork and compete. The market decides which chain survives. Forks prove Bitcoin is anti-fragile. Hundreds of attempts to create better Bitcoin failed. Bitcoin absorbed the attacks and kept growing. Forks prove governance works through exit rather than voting. Don't like the direction? Leave. Build your own. See if anyone follows. Usually they don't. Not all forks are splits. SegWit in 2017 was a soft fork that upgraded Bitcoin without splitting the chain. It fixed transaction malleability. It enabled Lightning Network. It increased effective block capacity without increasing block size. This was controversial, but it activated without a chain split. SegWit showed Bitcoin can upgrade successfully when enough of the community supports the change. The key was backward compatibility. Old nodes still worked. Yes, anytime there's a major disagreement, a fork is possible. Debates about block size could resurface. Debates about changing the 21 million supply cap could trigger forks. Debates about quantum resistance could lead to forks. But the lesson from Bitcoin Cash is clear. Forking doesn't kill Bitcoin. The economic majority, users, miners, exchanges, decides which chain is Bitcoin. The fork becomes the altcoin. Every time. What if a fork actually splits the community 50/50? Half of miners, users, and exchanges support each side. This would be chaotic. Both chains would claim to be Bitcoin. Ticker symbol disputes, replay attacks, confusion, but even this wouldn't kill Bitcoin. Eventually one chain would gain dominance, the market would choose, the other would fade or survive as an altcoin. Ethereum and Ethereum Classic went through this. Ethereum won. Classic survived, but it's tiny. When a fork happens, transactions on one chain can be replayed on the other chain if not protected. Example: you send 1 BTC on the Bitcoin chain. Someone copies that transaction and broadcasts it on the Bitcoin Cash chain. Now you've sent 1 BCH2 without intending to. This is a replay attack. Good forks implement replay protection, bad forks don't. If you're transacting right after a fork, be careful. Use wallets that handle replay protection automatically. Some forks are outright scams. Bitcoin Private was a fork that required users to move coins to claim the fork. The developers had a backdoor. They premined 2 million coins secretly and dumped them. Bitcoin Diamond had similar shady tokenomics. If a fork promises huge gains or requires you to take unusual steps to claim, it's probably a scam. Real forks credit coins automatically. You don't need to do anything risky. If you don't care about the fork, do nothing. Your Bitcoin is unaffected. Ignore the forked coin. If you want to claim the fork, move your Bitcoin to a new wallet first. Then import your old seed into a fork-compatible wallet. Claim and sell the forked coins. Never risk your main Bitcoin stack. If you hold on an exchange, check if the exchange supports the fork. Some do, some don't. You have no control. Self-custody gives you optionality. Bitcoin forks are a feature, not a bug. They allow experimentation without risking Bitcoin itself. Want bigger blocks? Fork and try it. Want different mining algorithms? Fork and test it. The market will judge. If the idea is good, it might influence Bitcoin later. If it's bad, it dies as an altcoin. This is decentralized governance in action. Messy, but it works. Bitcoin doesn't need a CEO making decisions. Forks handle disagreements. Every few years, someone announces they're forking Bitcoin. Media hypes it. Bitcoin is splitting. Panic, confusion. Then nothing happens. The fork launches, nobody uses it. It fades away. Bitcoin continues. This pattern has repeated dozens of times. Forks are noise. They don't threaten Bitcoin. They prove Bitcoin's resilience. If forks could kill Bitcoin, it would be dead by now. Hundreds of forks tried to replace Bitcoin. All failed. Bitcoin Cash was the biggest, most serious attempt. It had backing from major miners, companies, and community members. It still failed to overtake Bitcoin. If Bitcoin Cash couldn't do it, nothing will. Forks are exits for people who disagree. They're experiments in alternative approaches, but they're not threats. The network effect is too strong. Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Everything else is an altcoin. Comment BT Conley if you're ignoring all forks and just stacking Bitcoin, or claimed forks if you actually sold Bitcoin Cash or other fork coins for profit. Next video, I'm breaking down the Lightning Network, what it is, how it works, and whether it actually solves Bitcoin's scaling problem. Subscribe to Unbanked. The old money had a head start. You have the internet,